Welcome to The Unfolding. I'm Olivier and I'm really grateful you're choosing to spend some time with me. My intention is to explore topics about connection, meaning, and staying human in this digital age. If what you hear feels nourishing, you're welcome to subscribe, like, or follow. It's a simple way of supporting my work and helping it reach others. Thank you. Safa,
Oli, hello.
you grew up in Iran. Was it in Tehran? Yeah, I'm so curious of how growing up in Tehran was for you.
Such a broad question. And when you ask that, there are lots of images popping up in my head. And one of the most vivid images is in school. I loved going to school because of all the people that were my friends, and really enjoyed spending time with them, was very active in school, something that I almost I'd forgotten for a long time. It was a few years ago that I remembered, oh, I was so active in school. I was doing, was leading kind of the whole school, the kids with all these theaters and choirs, and I was stand-up comedian at that time, just standing in front of the class and making funny jokes and people laughing at me. And whenever we were done with the lesson early, like my friends would ask the teacher if I could just go in front of the class and make them laugh. So that was like a big part of my childhood and very early teenage years. And on the other hand, and it's funny because some time ago I was talking about it with my sister, and she was saying that she didn't know that about me. She didn't know that I was this person at school because it was very different at home. Like at home and with, like relatives and family, I was quite shy and introvert and always just grabbing a book and reading a book and not speaking that much. Or at least this is the understanding that I had of myself and other people had of me, and were probably saying it. That's why I picked it up, that I'm shy, that, I just like to be somewhere quiet and be in my own world or things like that. So it was very interesting to have this contrast at home and in school. And then going another layer deeper, I was living in a country that was quite, um, I would say, restrictive and limiting because of all the rules, especially religion rules that were ruling the country, and kind of the same at home because my parents were actually very ethical people. They really had high ethics. There were things that were very important to them. And at that time, I was not enjoying it, being so limited and forced. But now I see that there is a lot, like a very strong ethical base in me that is coming from my parents and the way that they brought us up. But it was not fun as a kid, that I was not allowed to do a lot of things that I would like to do as a kid or as a teenager. So there was this, I would say, oppressive environment pushing me and pressing me. And whenever I found a way, I would just rebel in a hidden way and do things that I wanted to do without anyone, especially my parents, knowing about it. It was quite complex, the situation that I was in as a child and as a teenager. I had to hide a lot of things from my parents. I didn't want them to know. And I didn't have any safe, reliable base that I could go back to if something happened to me. So it was, in a way, alone in that sense. While I had a lot of friends, I missed like a strong and reliable base, safe base that I could go back to. Maybe that's why I felt a lot also lost and confused about so many things. And
What's an example that you have of a way that you were quietly rebelling?
so, for example, I had my best friend in high school. She was a free spirit. She was total rebel. Like she was doing things that I couldn't even think about. I couldn't imagine that someone can do. For me, I wouldn't even see the possibility of saying no to my parents for a long time. There was no option. Like the default was whatever my parents say, I should say yes and just do it. Like there's no other option. Kind of until I met this friend and I realized, oh, like, there are other ways to do things and people are doing it. So I don't know, like one of the things was we would uh, run away from school and go to the movies, which was like a lot of um, included a lot of tasks that I was not allowed to do. I was not allowed to go to movies alone. I was not allowed to just be with my friend in the streets alone. I was not allowed to not be in school. So the combining all that, that was something that I did. Or later on, my relationship with boys, because in Iran we go to separate schools. So up until university, I was just with girls at school. And then in university, there's suddenly like this huge amount of boys around me that I could just, uh, have crushes on and play with and, just explore with. So there was a lot of those happening again without my parents knowing because it was not allowed for me to be in close contact with boys. So I did a lot in university that was not allowed.
To come back to where you said about the religious part of it, as a child growing up, I'm wondering if you had an understanding that it was religious that maybe was different from other countries. What was your experience of that, both at school and with your parents, the whole aspect of religiosity in your life?
So I had no connection with other countries again up until maybe late 90s, beginning of the new century, that could connect to internet and be in connection with other countries. But before that, nothing, especially because for high school, I went to this exceptional talents school, which was, they had this entrance exam and they were just uh, getting a few people in the school. So I was accepted and went there. Before that, everything was just in a very small bubble of my family and my extended family, which they were all, this middle class workers, religious, having a very simple and normal life. So I didn't see anything else. I didn't see any of the world. It was just, that was my bubble and everything made sense in it. Like, of course, when my mom is doing her prayers and doing the fasting and whatever it is that is included in the religion practices, of course, I had to do the same because, again, as I said, I wouldn't see any other possibilities. I wouldn't see any other options. And then in high school, I was faced with some different people with different backgrounds, different families. Uh, they were not doing the prayers or whatever. And again, I just realized, oh, there are also people like me and they're not doing these things and it works. They're living their lives. So maybe, and because I was not enjoying it, it was just so, everything was so forceful. And so, like, for a kid, for a teenager to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do your morning prayers and then go to sleep again, it just didn't make sense. Like, who the hell is this God that is asking me to sacrifice my sleep to wake up and thank him? Like I can thank him in the morning when after my breakfast when I'm awake. Why do I have to wake up in the middle of the night? Like it didn't make sense and I was not enjoying it, but again, there was no other way. So when I went to high school and I started seeing other people living life differently, then questions start popping up. And again, I just did whatever I wanted to do as long as my parents didn't know about it. And this hiding was one of the most dominant themes in my life for a very, very long time. And then, yeah, when could connect to internet and watch movies, and I was not even watching movies until I was in university or something. It was just not allowed. But just that whatever national TV was broadcasting could watch, which was very highly censored. Um, so yeah, that was the university, the high school starting of it, and the university was the point that things started to really change and shift.
So when you were going to the cinema, was it Iranian movies that were playing?
Yeah, there were also a few, other movies, especially in the later years, that again were highly caught with censorship. But yeah, in the later years, there are other movies too.
Sometimes on the internet, I see images of Iran in the 60s, and they show those women in high heels and wearing like mini skirts and these kind
Mm,
of things. Was this something that you knew had happened in the history? Was it something that was common knowledge that it used to be like that at one point?
yes, there were a few pictures of um, my mom or the family from very early years, like before I was born or just at the beginning, because I was born in 81. So it was still the very beginning of the Islamic Republic. And I guess the mandatory hijab was not there yet for the probably the first couple of years. So I could see that they're on a picnic in a park and people are, just wearing dresses and no hijab, no coverings. And um, so, yeah, as a kid, it was a little bit strange to see, oh, this is how they used to be. And now this is like, it's like this, it's so different. Um, so I knew it existed, but I was not really thinking that much about it. Again, I was just so in that bubble, so immersed in what was, that I didn't have any ways to think differently or to imagine that there could be something else. It's not only about me. I can imagine that this was the case for many people and even for the whole country, for the whole culture, because um, a few years back in 22, I guess, we had the Massa's revolution in Iran, the woman life freedom that really shifted something in the country and in the culture about women's freedom, and particularly about covering and hijab, that before that, it was not imaginable that people can actually not wear their headscarves and go out in the streets. After that revolution, it just became something very usual, very normal, very regular. So I can imagine that it was not only me, but like the whole population was caught up in that bubble of this is the way it is. And they were not able to see any other options. At least this is how I imagine and I experience it.
Was there any mentioning of sexuality um, for you growing up in your family, in the public sphere? What was your understanding of sexuality growing up as a teenager?
Mm. No, nothing official, nothing in the family, nothing at school, and a lot in between classmates. Um, so I had a few friends, classmates that we talked a lot about sexuality. And again, I really didn't have any idea what it actually was, but it just sounded something interesting to talk about. So there was a lot of stories that I was hearing, and sometimes they actually sounded scary because for me it was very much, um, I don't know, it seemed something violent, like the way that people were describing it, the way that men and women interact physically sounded violent, but there was also something very interesting and intriguing about it. So that was mostly my experience with sexuality, just hearing from people. And then, as I said, I was not even allowed to watch movies. So I wouldn't even see sexuality in the movies until my early 20s. Or I think I was even maybe married when I was watching movies with explicit sexual scenes. And that's, now that I talk about it, it sounds very strange.
When you say that you were talking a lot about it with your classmates, was it primary school? Was it middle school? Was it always? Do you remember?
I think it probably started in, like, at the end of elementary school, beginning of middle school. So around the beginning of teenage years, maybe like at 11, 12 years old, from that point on. Yeah. Things um like menstruation, like period. I really, again, I heard about it from my classmates that this is something that happens, and it just first sounded so scary and then so disgusting that like you'll be bleeding once a month. Like, what the hell? And and then there was some point that my mom said, "Hey, by the way, something like this might happen, and if it happened, let me know." But there was no real, like, useful information or education about it, and nothing at school. That's, again, very strange.
Yeah, I can see how this whole thing around education, around sexuality. I have a niece, and it's been quite on the forefront of their awareness that some things might be happening. Um, children, they play doctor. They have all sorts of games, and so my sister and the dad of my niece have been speaking to my niece. She's only 6 years old, but saying that, oh, it might happen. Your body is really your body. You have the choice around it. But basically trying to create trust that some things might happen, and that if they happen, they need to talk about it so that it can protect her. And what comes to me when I hear you is how much room it leaves for things to happen that might be quite dangerous for a child.
Mm. That's very valid, and it brings two things in my mind. First of all, not only around sexuality, around everything else. To me, the most important thing was that my parents don't know about it, because, like, I didn't care whatever happens to me as long as my parents don't know about it, because it felt a lot scarier to face my parents about what happened, because apparently I had experiences that, they were, um, I don't know, they were not happy with what happened to me. And it, for me, it felt like it was my fault that something happened to me, even if it was just, falling and getting a scratch on my knee, or whatever was like such a huge burden of fault on me that I just preferred to take it all on my own and not let them know. So there was, in that sense, again, I know this is the experience that I created for myself. Maybe could have been different if I actually did tell him about things. Um, but again, there was no safe base to go back to and to rely on that, hey, this happened to me. It's just like, okay, I'll handle it on my own. And the only important thing is that they don't know about it. And then all the experiences that I had, like whatever you're saying about kids playing doctors, or a lot more are the things that I'm now writing. I'm writing a book about sex, and those are all the stories that I'm bringing in the book about how my experience was with unwanted sexual experiences, whether in the like the extended family environment with other kids, with other teenagers, or out in the society, like sitting in a taxi, standing on a bus, just walking on the street. How many unwanted sexual exposures and experiences happen to me that I just thought it's normal, like it's happening to everyone, and everyone is keeping quiet about it, so I should also keep quiet about it and not tell anyone that's happening. And so there was a huge amount of unwanted sexual experiences that I had as a child and a teenager, and like in my early adulthood as well. Until later on, with more being more in interaction with people, and maybe like reading a little bit more, getting more awareness around sexuality and boundaries, and my body's my body. Like it didn't exist, like sexual safety, consent. So like, none of this existed. I was just there for the other people to take pleasure of my body. It was like, okay, this is the way it is. This is my duty. This is why in this world as a woman, for other people to take um, advantage of my body for their own pleasure.
I imagine that must have been feeling really lonely not to have a safe space where you can go and say things. As a child, your parents were the most important safety that you can have. And what I'm hearing from you is that you really grew up where it was quite the opposite. Your parents were the danger. And then it was a reflection of society, where society or the culture, instead of protecting you, you need to hide from it, and everything has to be secret, everything has to be hidden, and it was all around you somehow.
Exactly. And again, I can also imagine, just like what you're saying, that my parents' behavior or understanding was a reflection of the environment they were living in. So it's really not that I'm blaming my parents for what they did or did not. And that took a lot of work to get to a point to really see that it was not their fault. Like, I don't want to blame them. It's not that you did this and you didn't do that, and that's why I ended up here. I used to do that a lot previously. Now I can clearly see that, you know, just as I say that I was in that bubble and I didn't see any other options, they were in the same bubble and they probably didn't see any other options, because they have also shifted and changed and transformed a lot in the recent years. Like, they have so much more understanding and compassion right now. Just to give you an example, when I started year and a half ago that I really want to work on sexuality, and like this is where I have a lot of experience in, as I'm sharing with you, a lot of experience of secrecy and holding everything on my own, to somewhere that things started shifting, and I started having a lot of adventurous explorations about sex, and in a way just creating my own sexual experiences. So it's a topic that I'm very passionate about, and I really like to bring it out to other people that might be going through the same experiences, to shift them. um, so I lost train of my thoughts. uh, yes, I was saying that I wanted to start working around sexuality um, openly. So one of the things I wanted to do was to talk about it on social media, be really open about um, the topic, about my own experiences, about things that I'm offering to people. And the first thought that came to my mind was, what if my parents see that? You know, I'm talking about sex, such a taboo topic, publicly and openly on social media. So I thought, okay, I don't want to go that path of secrecy again, and, you know, start hiding my posts from them or anything like that. I just picked up the phone and called them and talked with both my mother and father, um, and openly told them, this is what I want to do. Like, I've seen so many relationships around me collapsing and getting fucked up because of the sexual issues that people don't talk about and don't, you know, address, that I really want to do something about it. That's something I have seen in my parents' life, in my own life, my own relationships, people around me. It was just happening so much that I was kind of like, okay, I'm fed up with this. I want to do something about it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work with people about their sexuality, about their sexual relationships in a relationship. And they were both so supportive. Like, wow, this is great work that you're going to do. We're all there for you, support you. And really, it was so unbelievable. And every time we were speaking, they were really checking in. Hey, how's it going? Like, what are you creating? Who are you talking with? Um, every time I posted something on social media, my dad was the first person liking it. So it was really huge support, and a big shift from how it used to be. So I'm saying all this to say that again, it's not that I'm blaming my parents for whatever they did or did not. And I see the shift that also happened in them just as much as it happened in me during years.
That sounds incredible that they were so supportive after having had this life, and how they were with you, and now that they're so supportive. There's a lot of like joy that comes in me knowing that you are getting that support. And also, I wonder, what is it that made the shift, both in you and then in them?
Well, in me, a lot. uh,
Because then you went to university
yeah,
and you started to be also with boys. Yeah.
yeah.
How was that?
So the first day of university, I fell in love with someone that I was quite good at falling in love. Like, I mean, I name it falling in love. I was just probably having a crush on people. But there was this guy that I really liked him, and I was fantasizing about him, and um, you know, and then we have this interactions uh, in university. I was in the theater club, so there was a lot of activities going on next to going to the classes and doing whatever it is that people do at university. A lot of social interactions around the theater club, and you know, going to hiking, going to watch theater, going to movies, and doing a lot of things together in a group. And there were a few guys that I had a crush on. It was we were writing letters to each other. So unbelievable. We're writing so many letters every day to these people and exchanging letters every day. And anyways, so there was this guy that I really liked him. And after all these years of going through different activities together and being in this group of people together, that we kind of started dating. I mean, it was not really, um, the term dating didn't exist at that time, at the environment that I was in, but we started going out together, just the two of us, not with all this group of people. And it was very obvious for both of us that we want to be with each other, we want to live together. So at some point, we decided that if this is going to happen, we are going to get married. Because, of course, it was not possible to live with someone without getting married at that time, at least in my family culture. So we got married when I was 23, and we had a beautiful, beautiful life together. It's still unbelievable. Like, every day he was coming home, and I could hear the key like turning. I was just like, wow, we're living together. It's like this is our home every time. It's so unbelievably exciting to have that experience. Um, so that was a part of it. And then I was also not being happy just with other aspects of my life. I was not really a fit in the culture. Well, probably you can imagine now from all the background. Um, so I decided I want to leave the country. I want to go somewhere else. And especially because everyone around me, people in my close circle, my classmates, they were all moving to other countries. So I also decided I wanted to go. And I had a conversation with my husband at that time. And he said that, I really don't have any reason to leave. My family's here, my business is here, my friends are here. And I have nothing over like outside of here to go for. But if this is what you want, you live only once, and you should follow your dreams and do whatever you want. And I will fully support you in whatever it is that you want to do, and just go do it. So he really supported me in all ways, especially financially, because I didn't really have any money at that point, to move to the Netherlands and do my studies here. And then was finished my studies, I found a job. And then we had another conversation that, hey, now I have a base here, and it's easier for you to move, and we start something here together. And he was still like, my life is here. I really don't want to move out. And that's when we decided to separate and get a divorce. And then, yeah, just started a different life over here in the Netherlands. And
Wow.
yeah.
So there's a lot of questions that are coming
Mm.
up. um, I can see how finding it so beautiful how he was so supportive of you. That's really sound like a gift. Um, I also wonder how it was at the beginning, because you said like, oh, we want to live together. So it's the first person you started to date. And because we're talking also about sexuality, I'm wondering how was the whole virginity thing? Because I know from my friends who are from Muslim countries, virginity is such a big thing. And so did you wait for the marriage?
So we did have uh, sexual interactions before marriage, to the extent that we could explore together. And and yes, virginity was still something I didn't really understand, but again, like many other things, I just had to accept it, and I didn't see any other option like that. Oh, I can actually have real sex before marriage. So yes, in that sense, we didn't really have penetrative sex before marriage. And that's not easy to talk about. But this whole sexuality was something so heavy and so, again, with the background that I shared with you, for me, it was always like, like, this body is not mine. It's for other people to take pleasure. So, especially if I'm married, like, officially, I'm there for someone else's pleasure, and I have to be there whenever they want. And it was not also something that I was open to talk about. It was very, yeah, I guess, yeah, we barely talked about it because, and even if he wanted to talk about it, I was not open. Like, no, it's not something to talk. Let's just do it and get over with it in a way. So, no, it was not easy. That part of life was really not easy. It really felt like a heavy duty that I have, again, as a married woman, to carry and not even talk about with anyone, not even my partner, about it. And just let's hope that we do it like once a week and get over with it. And then, enjoy the rest of our lives together and everything that I was excited about. So there was a huge contrast again between the intimate sexual part of life and the whole rest of it altogether.
Where did this idea of your body is not yours and sexuality is about pleasing others comes from?
Well, honestly, it's something that I can't put words on right now. It's not that at that time I was thinking, oh, my body's not mine or whatever. Again, it's something that I can, with the awareness that I have now, I can see that this was actually happening. But I remember clear examples of it, that it happened many times that I was standing on a bus and the buses were very crowded, and I could feel someone pressing himself against me. And I could really feel their hard penis pressing against me, and like they're moving themselves to get pleasure. And the thought that was going on in my mind was that, well, I have to stand here and just be there for him to have this pleasure, even though I had no idea what was happening. I had no idea what a penis was or what a hard penis was, or it was just that, okay, this is happening to me and I have to just be frozen here until he's done. That was one of the examples of that I remember what I was thinking in the moment. They have to just stand here until he's done. I can't do anything about it.
How old were you, you said?
A kid, like maybe, I don't know, 8, 9, even smaller, maybe.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah. And again, it's so many other women's experience, as far as I know. Like, at least I haven't talked to anyone, uh, again, from my culture, from my country, that hasn't had these experiences. Could be more or less, but everybody has experienced it, as far as, again, I have been in connection with people and talked about it.
And the fact that it's something that has happened to many people doesn't take out the fact that it must have been horrible for you to
Yeah,
uh, witness and
definitely.
experience.
Hmm. Mm. It's not easy to talk about it out loud because I have written about it. As I said, I'm writing about all this in my book. So writing is different. I have thought about it a lot. So in my own space, I have processed it a lot. And even maybe like once with one of my therapists, we talked about it a little bit, but it was mostly been in my own space that I have processed it. And of course, I've cried a lot about it. I have been angry about it a lot. I have been compassionate to myself a lot. So there's been a lot of emotions being processed around it. So it's so much easier to talk about it now. Again, it's not as easy to talk about it out loud because the emotional weight is kind of lightened. But
You've
definitely
done it.
the first time I was processing it on my own, it was really huge mess. Just imagine that, oh my God, like this is what happened to me. Like, wow, I had all these experiences. Like, it was so heavy to go through that all.
And you went through it on your own.
Mostly, yeah.
Is it because you have learned so much to do things on your own that you still do that now, even there is more possibilities to be with others in what you're experiencing?
Definitely, that's one of the reasons. Right now, when you ask the question, you went through that on your own. I was like, ah, yeah, of course. I do things on my own, of course. um, and also, no, maybe it's also coming from, again, the past experiences of not being really met where I want to be met when I'm talking to someone. For example, when I started talking about it during my therapy, but the way that I was received and the way that I was held was not something that I wanted. And I was also not able to say what I wanted, like what was the way, because it was so new for me. It just this explosion of emotions. And so I thought I prefer to just do it on my own and with my own rhythm and with my own processing of information that no other person wants to like force something to happen. Like I remember, again, these are all my perceptions and my experiences, but something like I thought that my therapists once again to blame those people who were doing those things to me, and I didn't want to see that way. Again, I know like this guy that's standing on the bus and doing that has no idea of sexuality either. Like if I don't know about boundaries and consent and sexual safety, like he didn't know it either. So I don't want to just easily put the blame on him and say that, okay, like I was the victim, he was the what is it, the other one? Um
The
if you
perpetrator.
exactly. And it was his fault and whatever. I don't know, I just didn't want to process it that way. I just thought I
It's
want to
like
do it
you,
on my own way.
yeah, sounds like it was so important for you to find something just in the way you would understand it, and that would be based in compassion and understanding and still in taking responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you arrive to getting into that process? I mean, okay, you get a divorce from your husband that loves you but wants to support you moving to the other side of the world decides not to come with you, and you're in the Netherlands. What happens then?
Um, so after that I was settled here and I got divorced, was like, okay, now I'm free. I'm a free human being and I can do whatever I want to do. It felt great. And one of the things was that, okay, now I can have as many sexual experiences as I want. And it was not really that I wanted to have sexual experiences, because sex was still something very unpleasant and very disgusting. And, like I really didn't enjoy it. But just to prove to myself that I'm free, I decided that I want to have as many sexual experiences as I can. So, and I started experimenting with that. Again, it was fun in the sense that I could really, do whatever I want. But the sex itself was still so taxing and so, ugh, okay, let's just get over with it. And then I'll go to the next chase and, getting the next person to be in bed with me and then just going through that experience quickly and then get to the next one. Um, so this is what was happening for a few years. Kind of fast forward, I had a episode of depression and I started going to therapy. And therapy really helped me with self-awareness. I didn't have any self-awareness or any conscious self-awareness, I don't know how to name it, about myself. So I started learning things about myself, my feelings, my thoughts. Um, and that was the beginning of the transition journey. And then I got to know NVC, where we know each other from, where we met. And that was also a lot deeper on feelings, needs. What is it that I actually want? That was a very important question that I was not asking myself before that, or not really being conscious of it. It was mostly about what I didn't want. But really getting to, okay, what is it that I want? Like if I can ask someone a request, what is it? That was again very helpful. And then started with coaching, going through a 1-year coaching training that was really transformative, because there were so many opportunities of reflection, like looking back in my life and seeing what happens again with a little more open eyes and a little more consciously going through all the things that happen, processing it. And it's still work in progress and going on.
For those who don't know, NVC is nonviolent communication. For you to go and see a therapist, is it something that people do in Iran, going to see a therapist, or was it a completely new experience? What brought you to do that?
Uh, when I was living in Iran, it was not very common, because people just started to do that. It was not therapy, it was something like counselor that people would go to. I even tried it once before I moved to the Netherlands, when again I was quite not happy with my life over there. Um, but then this therapy was in the Netherlands. It was in 2016, so quite recent, I would say. And right a few months after the therapy, when I started feeling more like myself and out of that depression haze, I started a podcast about depression in Farsi. And that was I would say, the first place that publicly I was talking about depression. And I was I had a co-host who was a psychologist, and she was really bringing the professional knowledge and experience into it, and I was bringing the personal experience into it. Just talking about what depression is, what are the symptoms, what are the options for someone who's experiencing it, what could other people around that person support the person with. So it was very informative, and was creating awareness around depression in Farsi. And there were a lot of people who were sharing their experiences with me. And I had these mini episodes with people's stories, people who have been through it and then started experiencing life differently. So it was also creating a lot of hope that, if you're in that depression stage, it doesn't mean that you're going to be there forever. Like, there are so many people that has been through it. And it was very revolutionary, I would say, in at that time to speak about it and to create awareness about it. And I know that so many people around that time and after that started going to therapy, which now is very, very common. Like, probably there's barely anyone who hasn't been to therapy, at least in the circle of people that I know.
It's a very privileged circle because I know a lot of people who haven't been to therapy. um, for my clarity, this podcast was in English?
No, it was in Farsi.
It was in Farsi. Okay, so you did it while you were in the Netherlands, but in Farsi. So I can imagine that that had a big impact on the Persian community.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That this and these people who I'm telling you has
Yeah,
been to therapy and it's
yeah.
becoming something regular for them is in the Persian community, especially also the people who actually live in Iran. So therapy is something very regular now in Iran.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've been speaking about depression because you experienced it. Although when you came to the Netherlands, as you said, you were free, you could do a lot of things. What is it that you think that brought you to depression?
Again, that's one of the things that I can look back and connect dots together and say what it was, because at that time I had no idea. It was just my experience. Um, but it was something that I've been experiencing since I was a kid. And now that we know all the stories about my childhood and teenage years, it just makes sense that I feel depressed. Um, but really, since I was very little, like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old, I remember I was just crying for no reason sometimes, not being happy, not enjoying life. And it was coming and going, especially around big changes that was happening in my life. Like, once we moved places, we moved from one house to another, which was in a totally different neighborhood, and I changed school. And that was one of the episodes that I was crying every day without knowing what is happening to me or without anyone doing about it. It was just so normal that, like, a 9-year-old is crying every day. Um, but now I can see that it was probably because of that shift that happened, and I was not really prepared for, and I lost all my friends and all my connections. And the time that I experienced it in the Netherlands and started going to therapy was also kind of the same. It was a time that I was not happy with my job. So I quit my job and I was looking for a new job, and it was not easy to find that. And I was not having a very satisfying relationship with my boyfriend at that time. We were really at the verge of breakup. And then when I found a new job, I moved to a new city. I was living somewhere else, and then I moved to Amsterdam. Um, so the new job, the new environment, the breakup, like everything, like so many big shifts and changes that I couldn't cope with, apparently, and just mm, collapsed, basically. Or there was another time that um, I was creating a community in Iran. It was during COVID with a group of people. We were living together for almost a year in a community, and then that community collapsed. And that was, again, one of the episodes of real depression. Everything felt meaningless. And so I can kind of see a pattern of big changes, losing people, losing my identity together with whatever that has been created around those people, around those situations, that suddenly makes everything so empty and meaningless. And then I name it depression.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that a lot of the time when I've experienced depression, I think an underlying pattern was a death that have happened in my family,
Mm,
several ones, and it would not happen exactly at the same time, maybe a bit later or things like that. But the fact that there was not much spaces for grief made it that my body just brought me there and made me slow down
mm,
into this kind of grieving process. And same things with maybe relationships, or I traveled a lot from a country to another, and every time it meant creating a community of people and then losing it. And I can
mm,
really see how, being such social animals, if we don't have that community anymore, it really needs a lot of mourning. And I was not acknowledging it or
mm,
understanding that I was needing that. I mean, I was drinking and partying a lot of the time, and that just I'm working, I'm busy, I'm drinking, and I'm so depressed.
mm.
Yeah, I can resonate with some of that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense what you're saying, because for me also grieving has not been something that I pay attention to or prioritize, or just like, no, no, I'm fine, until the point that, yeah, just my body brings me to a point that, okay, it seems like nothing else exists. Again, it's so empty, it's so meaningless. Just sit with your grief, and it always passes. That's the fascinating thing.
You did this coaching, and then you started to get into speaking about sexuality. Is there a specific element that brought you there?
Again, I can find a few points of, okay, this happened and that happened, and then I made that decision that I want to really go for it. One of them was an experience I had. It was really during sex, that some like this person I was with, his hand was on my chest, and I was like, "Ah, like, I can't breathe. I don't want this hand on my chest." And of course, usually, especially because of all my background experiences, it's like, oh, my body, my choice, like, get away from me. Like, I don't want that. And at that time, it just occurred to my mind, and I was going to improv classes at that time. Like, what if I see this as an improv scene? And in improv, nothing is planned, nothing is scripted. We just go on stage, and maybe we have a theme or we have a word, like, I don't know, coffee. And then we just start having a conversation out of the blue. And what is important is that whatever you say, I say yes to, and I add something to it. Like, if you say, oh, this coffee tastes like shit, I wouldn't say, no, 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 it's delicious. I'd say, yes. And there is, I don't know, cat pee in it. And then you say, yes, I saw the cat peeing in it. So it just builds out of the blue with us supporting each other in what every one of us says. So I thought, what if I see this whole situation as an improv scene? Like this person put his hand on my chest. What if I say yes to this hand being on my chest and add something to it? It could be and removing it. But it's not that, oh no, I don't want it and I remove it. It's like, yes, it's here. I accept it and I do something, I add something. So that brought the idea of, oh wow, what if we look at sex, the whole experience of sex as improv? So we say yes to whatever comes and add something to it. And then I thought, oh, I can write a book about this. And really, the day after, I started writing a book about it, which is still going on. And it really shifted. But that was the first idea. And then I was going to a coaching business school. And it was in one of our sessions that someone, like a woman in her 50s, I guess. Like she was a very successful leader, was working in corporate, and she was also joining the coaching business school because she was also a coach. So at some point, she was in front of the room sharing that, my whole life is very successful, extremely successful. And I have never experienced orgasm. And this is what I want to change in my life. And if anybody can support me with that, I would be grateful. And that was the moment I was like, me, I can't, like, I'm writing a book about it. So we had a conversation and I just realized that, wow, this is a gift that I have. Like all those past experiences, all the explorations that I did is something that not everybody goes through, that not everybody experiences, and not everybody makes something of it. So that now I have this very rich gift with me and in me. I can share it with other people. That's when I decided I actually want to do something about it professionally and bring it to the world.
Oh, how is it the process of writing a book about sex?
Fun. So when I started writing, it was about what if sex was like improv. So it was very much focused on improv. And then, and I was just having a small idea and starting writing about it. And it would just, it would just come out of me. And when one chapter was done, was really like the next chapter was unfolding. Like, oh, like now there's another idea at the end of this chapter that I went to and wrote about in the next one. And at some point, I decided that I would like to include my own experiences in the book. So it's also like some personal essays, I would say, to be in there. And that was the heavy part because, again, a lot of processing was happening in the writing, just going back from my childhood and my relationship with sex from the very early days, not early days, early years, and everything that, like, how I got to know about sex and sexuality and all some of the experiences I shared here with you, and about my marriage, about the experiences that I had after that. And the more we move forward, it more goes into the exploration and the possibilities, like the stories that I have experienced, I have explored. I've heard from other people who explored. And if you told me about those 10 years ago, I would say that you're lying. It couldn't be like this. So I want to bring also all those possibilities in the book and into the world that, for me, sex started as something shameful, disgusting. I should do it out of duty. I have no choice in it. Other people are just there to take advantage of me, to like sex being this playful, open, fun, adventurous, never ending possibilities that I'm experiencing it right now.
Do you identify as Muslim?
I don't. I don't identify as so many things. I just identify as a human being.
You say you have some beliefs that are linked to the Muslim religion?
The thing is that I was so running away from it that I really don't want to have anything related to it. Um, and interestingly, I have a personal trainer that I worked with for almost 3 years now, and we see each other at least twice a week. So we have a lot of conversations. And he is Muslim, he's proper Muslim. And whenever we talk, and he's so open minded, like I can bring any topic and any conversation to him. And like he's just curious about it, just ask questions. And it's so different from the Muslim people that I'm used to. Or and a lot of times when I ask him about like how are you, like how can you be so open-minded and so curious and so peaceful about everything, it's like, yeah, it's because of my belief, it's because of my religion. It's so strange to me that someone can experience the same religion in this sense, and the way I experienced it, or a lot of people that I know experience it, so close and limited and harsh, and with like not having any space for anything else. So again, I really can't talk about Islam or being a Muslim in general. I just can say that my experience is that no, thanks, I don't want any of it. And see someone else experiencing it totally differently.
I know that in a lot of countries that are Muslim, I think it's against the law to let go of your religion. Is it the same for Iran?
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, it's not about the law, it's about the like not the country law, but the religion law, I guess.
Because I think when I went to Morocco, I think I read something about the fact that it's actually illegal to say that you're not Muslim anymore.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So I don't know if there's a law like this in Iran.
Probably. Yeah.
With your mother, like, because your dad seems to be the one that's very much encouraging you in what you're doing. What about your mom?
She's also encouraging. And interestingly, our dynamics was different from most usual family dynamics. Like in our family, my dad was the source of love, and like the soft person and the social person and holding the family together. So a lot of warmth was coming from my dad. And my mom was the leader and the visionary and the let's get it done, very disciplined, very strict. Um, it's funny, once I was talking to ChatGPT about my parents, and then at some point it said, so your mom did this and that. And I was like, oh, no, 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 that was my dad. But because what he did is something that usually moms do. Yeah, ChatGPT just assumed that like this is coming from my mom. But yeah, I always say that I've got the qualities of both my parents in me, and the one that is a leader and a visionary and let's go get it, and very disciplined, very organized, very adventurous. That's coming from my mom. And the one that has a very big heart and loves people, loves to be with people, and um, creating fun things with people. That's coming from my dad.
Do you think that's been working for your parents to have their polarity in this way?
In some ways, yes, definitely. Like any um, progress we made in the family, especially like social wise or financial wise, was coming from my mom, because my dad was happy with whatever there was. Like, oh, this is good. We're just together. We're healthy and we're happy, and this is good. But my mom was like, no, we need a bigger house. Like, now we have more kids. We need a bigger house, and then, we need to invest and save and do this and do that. And kids need to go to a good school. Like my dad was, they can just go to the school next door. That's fine. My mom was, no, they really need to go to good schools and get good education. And so, yeah, in that sense, it was really good that my mom was able to fight for those things and make those things happen. And also, they had their own conflicts. Of course, totally different people, totally different views. That my dad loved to be with people all the time, like everyone, like the door would be open for everyone. And my mom was really like organized. So, like, this is the time we need to be on our own, not everybody's getting to go in. And like, yeah, there's also a lot of conflicts happening. And I also want to say it's I don't know, whenever I talk about my parents, it's very emotional. And also I really, because it's like people don't know my parents. Like, you don't know my parents, and you get to know them from what I'm sharing with you. So I always want to say that, this is how I experience my parents. And this is just, some bits and pieces of them. And about everyone, like about my ex-husband, about the boyfriend that I used to have, about whoever. Like, these are just very small bits and pieces that are going through my filters, and I'm sharing with you. And it doesn't say anything about the whole person. So just want to be mindful of that what I'm sharing is just my own experiences through the way that I perceive life, and I experiencing in this moment. Because if we were talking again like a year ago, I would share different things. If we talk a year from now, share different things, because this is how I'm experiencing life today in this moment, sitting in front of Oli and talking.
Why is it so important for you to really remind people that what you share about others is not who they are?
Because that's again the way that I see people. And I know that I have experienced it myself, that I just, I experience someone for an hour and I make my own judgments of them. Or even not experiencing them. Like, someone sits in front of me on the train and I start writing these stories in my head about them. Oh, this is a person like this and that, and it's what they're doing. And really judging them based on not even experiencing them, just seeing that person. So it's most importantly, it's just a reminder for myself that, people are so complex and so colorful, and there's so much to them that even if I spend a lifetime with them, I don't get to experience all of that. Like, people even don't know themselves, the whole colors and complexity of themselves. So really, why, again, it's a reminder, first of all, for myself, that I don't get to that rabbit hole of judgments about someone. And also just a reminder for whoever that's listening that, and I'm saying it about my parents, but it can be extended to anyone. Even like for me, it was very, very eye opening to realize that I experienced my parents, like these two human beings, as my parents. I don't experience them as two human beings. Like if you see them, you have a total different experience of them because you're not watching them from the lens of parenthood or the whole baggage that I'm carrying for 40 something years. If their colleague sees them, they see them totally differently. So as a person, they are someone totally different from what I'm experiencing them as my parents. And I want to keep reminding myself of that.
Yeah. We're all ever moving living organisms, and our experiences of one another is telling so much about ourselves.
Definitely.
Right now, we hear a lot about Iran in the news. How do you navigate the situation knowing that your family is in a country where there's war?
Honestly, at the beginning, I was totally disconnected. That's apparently one of my coping mechanisms to disconnect. Like it's happening over there, I'm here, and like they know what they're doing, and I don't need to interfere or have an opinion about or whatever. Um, so it was very disconnected, and because things have been happening in my country so much and so many times, and I have been sometimes involved, sometimes not, and got to the point that like I can live my life and they can live their life, and whatever is happening, they know how to cope with it. Because I see a lot of people, I've experienced a lot of people that are following the news obsessively, like 24/7, or being in contact with their families. Hey, do this, do that, leave the city, stay in the city, prepare this bag with essentials. And like, they're just instructing them to do so many things. And to me, it's like, I have no idea what they're going through. Like, I haven't been in that country for 17 years. Definitely, my parents know better than me where to be and what to do and what to buy and what not to do. And they're wise and they are capable and everything. Like, they don't need me to tell them what to do. So that was it. And then at the same time, just imagining what is happening, the amount of uncertainty, and especially during the war, the destruction, the fear, the unjustness of it. That's really sad and frustrating. So, yeah, I've been experiencing a lot of sadness and frustration and anger about what's happening in my country. And it's not that because it's my country, because it's where my parents are. It's just that such a thing is happening in the world. That a land, a population, a culture, whatever you name it, is getting destructed. Like that's sad on its own. And of course, the fact that my parents are there, I don't have constant connection with them. Like I don't know if they're safe or not, and they're in their 60s and 70s, so like like not having any support, just being on their own. It's just sad.
I've heard that there's no more internet or something like that. Yeah. Are you able to call them on the landline?
Um, I am not able to call them. They are able to call me, and that's the way that we communicate. Like every week or so, they just give me a short call, just saying that they're safe, they're fine, and like 1 or 2 minutes, then it gets disconnected. So that's the It's our way of communication. And just there's so much, I don't know, because again, when I'm hearing other people and all their, like there was a time that a lot of people were wishing for a war. We're hoping for a war to happen. We're hoping for the United States to attack Iran or whatever. And of course, some people being totally opposite of that, no to war and war shouldn't happen, all that. And this whole thing is again so complex and so, I don't know, there's so many dimensions to it that when I speak to people, a lot of people say that they don't know how to feel. They don't know if they should be happy or sad. Like they don't know if they should be celebrating it or if they should be angry about it. And it's quite uncommon to imagine that, yes, it is a complex situation. Yes, there are a lot of dimensions to it. And you can have all those feelings together. Like you can be happy that something happened, and you can also be sad that the same thing happened, and you can be angry about it, and you can also be worried about it, and you can also be like maybe hopeful about it that something changes. So that is one of the qualities uh, that I don't see many people experiencing, of holding everything together. And of course, it's not easy. Like one of the emotions gets is hyped up, or the other one is being oppressed, or yeah, it's, I guess it's something we are not even used to hold everything together.
Because I don't watch the news so much, I wonder, can you tell me what's one reason why some people are happy that the war is happening?
um well, I don't watch news either that much. But one reason, like for example, when the supreme leader was killed, that was the reason that many people were happy, that because it seemed like an impossible thing to happen, that this one person will not exist in the world anymore. So when that happened, a lot of people were happy. Um, and I don't know, maybe they thought that, okay, the whole thing is over now. Now the regime is changing and the people are free. But no, that was not what was supposed to happen. And I don't know. I really don't know if there is still someone who's happy with the situation, but there could be. Um, so again, that was one of the incidents that could feel happy for some people.
This whole idea of killing one leader will make things better. I guess there's probably this story around Hitler, because maybe when Hitler died, it seemed like it was the end of World War II. But it's so much more complex than this, right?
Mm, definitely.
Well, I hope I will go to Iran one day. Maybe I go with you.
I hope so.
I am very curious about that country. I mean, it's a huge country that it's almost big like Europe or something. It's
Yeah, it's very
enormous.
diverse. Very, very
Yeah.
diverse. I always say you can go skiing in the morning and then just get a flight and go chill at the beach in the afternoon. Yeah,
And culturally, I think there's a lot of languages as well,
yeah.
and
Well,
so many
culture.
different types of cultures. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And it's sad that I even haven't experienced it myself. Because when I was living there, I was so just, just caught up in my own little world, and I didn't even experience the country. So yeah, that's also one of my hopes that I can one day go back and experience the whole diversity of it.
What's Persian food like? It's
Delicious.
Middle Eastern.
No, it's actually quite different from other Middle Eastern countries.
Oh,
The spices, because other cultures, other countries use a lot of different spices. Um, but we mostly use saffron in a lot of orange, reddish food, and also a lot of herbs in the green foods. So it's mostly a kind of meat, lamb or beef or chicken, cooked with like different vegetables as a stew and next to rice, or just some things next to bread. You can just make sand like rolls, or what is it, wraps with bread and eat it. Yeah,
that makes me hungry.
almost lunchtime.
Safa, I really, really enjoyed this conversation. Um, it was so easy and joyful for me to connect to what you were sharing, and I felt very touched at times. And I find it so valuable to hear your story, and so beautiful that you're now sharing about it and writing a book. So I'm looking forward to buy it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's as always so easy to talk to you, to share with you. Like the safety and trust that you create makes it very easy, and I'm sure that it expands to your audience. Like it really feels like everybody who's listening to it is gonna listen to it like the way that you do. So it makes it very easy to share. I hope that it opens up or inspires or like brings something new to someone's work. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, it seems to me that connecting to your story and unfolding it together, there's something so rich and human. And what I'm enjoying about it is that it helps me widening my perspective and my understanding of the human experience. So for that, thank you so much for unfolding with me today.
Of course, such a pleasure.
Thank you for listening and for unfolding together all the way through. My hope is that you leave feeling a little more connected, inspired, and carrying something that supports you in living life more fully. If this conversation contributed to you, pressing the follow button will help you stay connected to this work, support me in continuing it, and help others who might need these conversations find them. Thank you so much.